How does payroll know what to print in each box of the W-2 form? The secret is the template. Why don't you stay with us for a while, and we'll show you how it works. When this lesson is over, you'll be able to customize the W-2 template to accommodate your reporting needs. And you'll be able to use formulas in the template to pull in specific pay, deduction, or fringe amounts.
Gina, I'm getting ready to file W-2s, but how do I make sure that payroll reports the amounts that we need in specific boxes of the form?
When you print W-2s, it's based off of a template. So what you should do beforehand is to customize this template to make specific information print in certain boxes on the form.
Oh, I didn't know that. How do I access this template?
Oh, I can show you. But before you customize the template, you should make sure that you know what needs to be reported and how.
Good point. So I should download the Form W-2 instructions from the IRS website and have it on hand to know what needs to go in each box.
Exactly.
Can you tell me how the template is mapped to the form?
When you look at the template, it more or less looks like the W-2 form. Can you see the similarities? Boxes 1 through 14 are there.
I'm mostly concerned about boxes 12 and 14. How to print the specific codes and descriptions and what's reported.
Don't worry, you'll see in a moment how to customize this template, so it'll print what you want in all these boxes.
Great. And how about these boxes for retirement plan and third-party sick pay?
Those are on the employee setup. If you check the boxes on the employee record, those boxes will be checked on the form.
But how do I report third-party sick and disability wages?
Well, that depends on several factors, and it's best to refer to the SAGE knowledge base for the most suitable method based on your situation.
Okay.
Well, Brent, are you ready to learn how to customize the template now? Go to Tools, Modify Forms, then W-2 Forms. Your payroll application comes with a default template, which has the very imaginative name of default. You can modify this template or create a new one.
Let's create a new one.
Okay, we can type a name in the W-2 form box and give it a description. Then press Tab or Enter.
What's the employee minimum?
That's the minimum amount of taxable withholding an employee must earn for the year before payroll will generate a federal or state W-2 form.
That makes sense.
Let's look at the Amounts tab now. These boxes are mapped to the boxes on your W-2 form. Boxes 1 and 2 are configured to pull in the federal withholding taxable and tax amounts from the employee tax record. Boxes 3 through 6 are configured to pull in the Social Security and Medicare subject to and tax amounts, also from the employee tax record.
These are records in the payroll master file.
Yes, and when you file returns, you can select whether to use the current year-to-date amounts or the amounts for the prior tax year.
It looks like the information just pre-fills for boxes 1 to 6 when you create a W-2 form template from scratch.
You're right. As for boxes 7 through 14, you define how you want to have the information reported. Again, refer to the IRS instructions on what to report in each box. If you need help, you can click the question mark and drop it in the area where you have a question.
Well, how do I tell it what to report in a specific box?
We can take box 7, for example. Let's say you have some tips to report. Why don't you click in the box? Notice you can now access the buttons to the side.
I get it. I can use a pay, fringe, or deduction.
Right.
Let me pick pay, so I click the button, then pick one from the list, and click OK.
So now it'll report this pay in box 7. Wasn't that easy?
Yeah, it wasn't so bad.
If the amount you need to report is a combined accumulation of several pays, deductions, or fringes, or is based on a calculation, as long as you have a formula created, you can use a formula to report what you need in a box.
I see. How about box 12? Can you tell me what to do to report something in this box?
Well, each item that you report in box 12 has to be associated with a code that's assigned by the IRS. Help Topics has a quick reference guide that lists these codes. Why don't we take a look? On the Index tab, type the keywords Box 12 and look up About. This is more of a quick reference guide. You should refer to the IRS instructions for detailed explanations of what should be reported in this box.
Oh, absolutely. Can you walk me through this example of how to pull in amounts to report in Box 12?
Let's say, for example, you have elective deferrals under a Section 401k plan to report. According to the IRS instructions, you should use code D. Type that next to Box 12A. Then, click in the box next to it. In the database that I'm using for this demonstration, the 401k deferral is set up as a deduction. Click Deducts, then pick your deduction.
How about Box 14?
Again, I would refer to the IRS instructions on what to report in this box.
Let's say I want to report union dues in this box, and I'm supposed to label it. How do I do that?
Well, it won't let you type directly in the box. Instead, click the Text button and enter the label there.
I see.
Then, if the dues are set up as a deduction, click Deducts and select the item.
Hey Gina, what if the amount that I need to report isn't a single deduction, but a combination of several deductions, or it's a combination of a deduction and a fringe?
In that case, you can use a formula to combine them.
Oh, I'm not too comfortable with formulas. Can you show me how to work with them?
I sure can. Let me show you how to create formulas. Then we can use it to report amounts on your W-2 forms. How about this example of using Box 12 to report employer contributions to a health savings plan? The assigned code for this is W. Now, the IRS requires that the reported amount include both the employer contributions and the employee contributions through a Section 125 cafeteria plan. The employee contributions are set up as a deduction, while the employer contributions are set up as a fringe.
Can we use a formula to combine the two?
Yes, but before we create the formula, let me show you where the amounts are stored on the employee setup. We can take a look at the first employee. Click the Deducts button to see the employee deduction record.
Here's the deduction for the 125 cafeteria plan. Since we've closed the year in this database, the amount that should print on the W-2 is the prior year amount.
That's right. And if you haven't closed the year in payroll yet, it would be the year-to-date amount. So now you know where the employee deduction portion comes from. Next, let's take a look at the employee fringe record. Here is the employer contribution for Box 12. Again, we want to use the prior year amount because this database has advanced to a new year. Okay, now that you've seen where the amounts come from, it will make more sense when we create the formula. To create a formula that combines those two amounts together, go to Tools, then Formulas. We'll need to use a lookup function in our formula.
What's a lookup function?
We can look at the explanation and help. Just click this button. On the Index tab, type the word Lookup. The lookup function helps you locate information in another record that is not logically linked to the record that's being accessed.
Can you walk me through using this function?
Of course. First, make sure that this is set to Public Formulas. Then click New, type the word Lookup and an open parentheses for the parameters. The first parameter we want to include in the formula is the amount from the employee deduct record. And to access that record, click the Index button in the lower right area of the window. Scroll to find that record.
There it is.
Select it and click OK.
I see. Now the information displayed in that right-hand pane is from the employee deduct record.
Right. Those are the fields from that record.
And the field used in the formula would be either the prior year deduction or the year-to-date deduction, depending on whether or not you've closed the year in payroll.
Exactly. For our example, we'll use the prior year deduction field.
How do we select this field?
Just double-click it. Notice it's part of our formula now. But we're not done yet. Our second parameter calls for the employee ID from the employee table.
So we click Index and locate the employee record?
Yes, and make sure you type a comma to separate the parameters. And we'll add the employee ID as our next parameter. Next, we need to specify the deduction ID that we want to use. Brent, do you remember what that is?
It's 125.
Since this is text, enclose the characters in quotes. And to complete the formula, type a closing parentheses at the end.
Let me make sure I understand this formula. The first parameter is what we want the formula to retrieve, the prior year deduction field. The second parameter tells the function how to look up the field that we want. And the last parameter specifies which deduction ID we're interested in. So this part of the formula will return the employee deduction amount. But don't we need to include the fringe amount as well?
We do. So let's add that to our formula. Type the plus sign, and then we'll enter another lookup function.
But this time, we're looking up the employee fringe record using the employee record.
That's right. So click Index, and then select the employee fringe record. So here we are with the list of fields on the employee fringe record. Our choices are prior year fringe and year-to-date fringe.
Since this database has advanced to a new year, we need the prior year fringe.
Double-click the field to add it to the formula.
Now we need to index to the employer record. Okay, don't tell me. I figured this out. We want to select the employee ID field.
And then what do you need to type in with quotation marks around it?
The fringe ID, which is HSA.
And you remembered the closing parentheses. The formula looks good. Let's click OK. And we can give it a name. Now it's listed as a public formula. Let's close this window.
We're back to our form. We created the formula. Now, I'm guessing that we'll be able to select it for box 12 if we click Formulas.
You guessed right.
There it is.
If you had created several formulas, they would all be listed here in Public Formulas. Just pick the formula and click OK.
And we're done?
Yep, we've got that box 12B taken care of.
That wasn't so hard. I don't know why I thought formulas were going to be so difficult. Thanks, Gina. This is really good information.
You're welcome. Now you should be able to customize the W-2 template for your company so it reports the information the way that you want it to report. And remember to use formulas to combine accumulated totals, either year-to-date or prior year for specific boxes on the W-2 form.